Got it. Here it is, man. Come on, we've got whistle watch to do. Welcome back to Whistle Watch, and boy, didn't last weekend give us plenty to discuss. Plenty of talking points, plenty of excitement as well. I'll be analysing whether New Zealand should have been down to 12 men or not. And also as well, I'll be taking part in a little emoji challenge for you. But for now, let's answer your Eminent fans questions. Looking forward to this, let's start with VZ_Hetzel asks, who is Nigel's favourite South African? I assume you are South African. Are you VZ? If so, it's you. You know what? Rather than upsetting Shark Burger or Brian Abana or John Smith or even the dogs here, I'll go for Nelson Mandela. Peter Clark asks, if a player has tackled another and gets to his feet, is the offside line created by the tackle or by an attempt to form a ruck? Before, the tackle area and offside line was pretty much a circle within the area of the tackle. So, as long as you're outside that tackle, you could have been on the opposition side and you wouldn't have been offside until a ruck was formed. They changed it. When a tackle takes place now, the offside line runs right across the field just like a ruck or a maul. If you could recreate any try in a final, which would it be? Phil Bennett's try, the late Phil Bennett, unfortunately, up in Murrayfield in 1977, Wales against Scotland, where Gerald Davies gets the ball from a turnover in his own 22. It has been voted actually the best Welsh try of all time. Have a look at it on YouTube. Phil Bennett, wonderful try up in Scotland in 1977 in the old Five Nations. That try would be worthy of any final. Okay, and that's it. So thank you very much for your Emirates fans question this week. Some very interesting ones there. So let's move on. And it's time for Whistle Watch. Right then, let's cast our eye over some of the big decisions, some big talking points over the weekend, which really has got you going on social media, hasn't it? Right, let's have a look at the Fanga Uku yellow card in the New Zealand-Ireland game. Should have been a red. Let's have a look. So in the situation here, we need to remember that if the offence itself is reckless enough or dangerous enough to warrant a red card, then a red card should be given no matter what the degree of danger is. It is one of those decisions where we must understand that there is no right or wrong around it. If a referee feels that this is a yellow card offence, like Jakob Piper does, you can follow his reasons for that. On another day, a referee may well think, look, you've gone to the air, you're out of control, you've clambered into a player recklessly and dangerously, and for me there's enough in that to give a red card, even though the point of contact may not be direct with the head, then you could also understand that decision as well. And to be honest, I wouldn't argue with it, whichever decision they would have given. But I do feel that he was lucky here not to get the red, but as I said, the referee has made the decision to feel that this only warrants a yellow card, and I can totally understand and follow that. Now, did Ireland deserve a penalty try after Ofer Tuivasa-Ngasi's yellow card? Gary Ringrose tackled off the ball. Let's look first of all then at what constitutes a referee giving a penalty try. It's quite simple really. All you have to decide is, if it wasn't for the illegal actions of the New Zealand tackler, do you think Ireland would have probably scored a try? That's the key word here, probable. When I look at this situation, I think that Ireland probably would have scored here if I'm honest. So I believe there should have been a penalty try in this situation. Now the officials on the day, they thought, no, it wasn't a probable try, and they've given just a yellow card. But I think New Zealand are very, very lucky here to get away with this one. I think Ireland would have probably scored, and then that's enough to warrant a penalty try and a yellow card. Another talking point in the Ireland-New Zealand game, do you know what? We could have spent all Whistle Watch talking about the talking points in this game. Should New Zealand have gone down to 12 men? Yes, they should have, because when you go to uncontested scrums, because of actions of foul play or a player not able to carry on playing in the front row when you go to uncontested scrums, then you have to take a player down to reduce. So in this situation, New Zealand already have 2 players off. They go down to uncontested scrums on the 13 men, which means they should have gone down to 12 men as well. Now, the talking point here, which everybody has been trying to get their head around, is why was Surveyor not allowed to come back on? And there's been a bit of a mix-up here. Let's clear this one up. When they were down to 13 men and then go to uncontested scrums, they should have lost a player down to 12 men. When they go back to contestable scrums, they are now back up to 14 men, just a red card off the field. The key thing is here, it doesn't matter which one of those players comes back on. So where the officials were wrong here in saying that Surveyor couldn't come back on. Surveyor could have come back on, but one of the other players would have had to stay off. So either Surveyor stays off or the other player concerned stays off. 2 deliberate knock-ons resulted in 2 yellow cards in the England-Australia game, or deemed to be deliberate knock-ons. Now, if a player goes to try and catch a ball with one hand and is in a realistic position to regather that ball, then that would be deemed not to be deliberate. So forget if it's one hand or 2 hands. You're putting one hand out, you're going to get that ball. So I'm going to grab that ball just enough to sort of bounce it up a little, and then I'm going to regather it. That means then that you were in a realistic position to regather that ball. That then would deem to be just a knock-on if you don't regather it and not a deliberate knock-on. If you just stick your hand out and you shoot the ball upwards, or you shoot it downwards, or you stick your hand out, and the referee feels you had no chance of regathering that ball, then that means it's a deliberate knock-on. You've put yourself in a situation where you are going to get penalised. A deliberate knock-on then means it becomes a penalty, and depending on the situation on the field, where it is, what's at stake, are the numbers outside, is there nothing happening, could be just a penalty, or if there's more happening, then you're looking at a knock-on. The Marcus Smith one, I think, is quite straightforward. Yes, hand goes out, deliberate knock-on, correct yellow card. The Perezi yellow card's a little bit more difficult, but if I'm honest, looking at it, I think you're going to be pretty hard to sell it as he could have regathered that ball. But it all comes down to this. If you think he was in a realistic position to regather that ball, just a knock on. If you think there was no way, I didn't think he's going to regather that ball, not realistically to do so, then as a referee saw himself on the day, you give a penalty and a yellow card. Right, now it's time to have some fun. Well, you're going to have some fun, I'm not. It's a challenge, and I have to guess a rugby player by working out a series of emojis. Right, let's have a go. Arrow, cube, tent, bow, oh yeah, Bowden Barrett. Ah, right, very good, very clever. Oh, toilet, loo, milk, Lukawan Tiki. Yeah? Anton Deck. Oh, the rugby player. Anton Dupont. Kieran Reid. Well, one bit more simpler. Kieran Reid. What's in that bowl there then? Something like soup. What's that then? Paint. Soup. Stew. Stewart pig. Hog. Stewart hog. Quite impressed with that actually. Took a bit of time, but got there in the end. Well, once again, we've reached the end of Whistle Watch. I'll be back next week to talk about any talking points, and I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2. And also I'll be here as well to answer your Eminent fans questions. So thanks for sending them in, and keep sending them in. See you next week.